There's a growing epidemic in the world of basketball, and it shows no signs of slowing down, destroying the very foundations of our beautiful game and blurring the lines of reality. Hundreds of thousands of players engage with this system and unknowingly continue the vicious cycle that is destroying it from within. What is this huge problem, and what does it mean for the future of basketball? Today, we're going to do a deep dive and see if we can uncover influencers. Influencers are ruining basketball. This has been something that's just a personal pet peeve of mine. After starting this YouTube channel up about 6 months ago, I started to realize just how oversaturated this space was with so much misinformation and such terrible basketball IQ. There are thousands of coaches online that I truly believe want to help players and genuinely want to push them forward on their basketball journey. The problem is these coaches, or more appropriately, these online influencers, they begin chasing views and then end up doing more harm than they realize. And trust me, I get it. Being able to post an NBA tutorial that's not really a tutorial on a move that 95% of players are never going to use, it's a good way to get views on TikTok. But what are you going to do? You're going to keep posting new moves every single day out of context and then label yourself a skills trainer? Oh yeah, I guess so. Look, if we're being literal, I guess if you train skills, then you are a skills trainer. But I just hate how these guys use fancy titles as a position of authority. Honestly, most of these coaches that are NBA skills elite training gurus, they need you to know that so that they can sell you a product or a program. For me though, titles, they don't mean anything, and I like to see each coaching point or drill stand on its own. This is a very common theme in literally every industry, and if you've seen it once, you've seen it 1,000 times. I mean, it's easily one of the most quoted lines from The Office.
And that's why you have an assistant regional manager.
Assistant to the regional manager.
Same thing.
Unfortunately, basketball has been infiltrated by the exact same mentality. If someone is telling you they're a professional skills coach or they coach NBA players, just assume they're trying to sell you something. I would never call myself an elite NBA skills guru. It reminds me of that old janitor joke from back in the day. I'm not a janitor, I'm actually a custodial engineer. When people say they coach NBA players, I assume that means they go rebound for them and pass them the ball and basically stand on the baseline and yell like,
"Good job, buddy. You can do this. You got the next one. Keep pushing."
You know, stuff like that. Why do I even care about any of this, you might ask? Well, in my experience, parents and players, they look to industry experts to help them make their important career decisions. They don't know the difference between a step back and a step through. So when an online professional skills coach is telling them to jump over chairs or pads and shoot layups, or having them do the knee destroyer 2000, and meanwhile this kid can barely tie their shoes, yeah, it really frustrates me. I mean, just look at the comments. These kids are literally getting injured in the hundreds and getting knee pains, all from listening to this incredibly niche advice that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't.
You're just being a hater, bro. These drills work for me.
First of all, just because they work for some doesn't mean they're good drills. Pun intended. Secondly, I'm a firm believer that drills and exercises should always minimize risk while maximizing development. So yes, jumping over chairs and shooting layups will make you better at shooting layups. You can also get better at shooting layups with way less risk of injury by, wait for it, shooting layups. Yeah, shocker, I know. You don't need the chair. Any coaches that are willing to put their athletes into compromising physical positions really set off alarm bells to me, and I instantly start scrolling through their feed to find out what else I can hate on. This guy, Danyliv, he's a prime example. Now I've seen his content for a few years and typically never had an issue with his entertainment style videos, but at some point he became a basketball guru, I guess, and he's convinced thousands of kids that he should be taken seriously. Take this video for example. Like when I first saw this photo of him shooting, the first thing I thought about was he's either double jointed or he can hyperextend his elbow. For anyone that has actually worked with hundreds of players, especially kids, this, you would understand that that's not normal, and every single person's body mechanics are completely different. Yes, in the caption, he states, just be mindful that not everybody can do this. It's made it unnecessarily confusing when your subtitles on the video call it a nasty hack to fix your jump shot. Yes, I understand we've all got a clickbait to get views, but that's precisely my point. This isn't a post to help players with basketball. This is a post to get views, and views only. I mean, if you just look at the comments, there's literally dozens of kids saying that this is hurting their elbow and it's causing them injuries. Hey, Peter, maybe stop teaching that, and then maybe take it down. We all make mistakes as coaches and we learn as we go. But when you're clearly getting direct advice from your own audience that your video is actually causing them physical pain and injuries, just improve as a coach and don't worry about the one video's worth of views that you're gonna lose. But hey, you're also selling them insoles that you're claiming is going to make them jump higher and also magically prevent their knee pain. Again, just look through the comments and you can see how many people were disappointed in the product. Obviously, I went online and checked the reviews and they were all pretty much the same. And I hate to be this guy, but the fact that he's speeding up this video to make it look like the insoles are making him faster, that's pretty shameless. And maybe we just don't take injury prevention advice from a guy that clearly states that he's got excruciating knee pain that's kept him from playing any high-level basketball ever. Look, he's clearly done a good job of getting views through short-form content, but now every other video he's trying to sell products to his audience. Similar to the folks over at Good Drills, when you start crossing the line of selling products and workouts that either put your players at high risk of injury or contradict the advice you're giving thousands of players, I lose a ton of respect and I actually just think it's not good for the game of basketball. If these influencers are genuine and they were willing to accept that they may be wrong and grow and learn, then I would feel much differently about it all. But the amount of delusion and narcissism is baffling to me. I think this guy really believes that he knows more about skill development than literally every other NCAA Division I coach does. Mainly because he's commented that he knows more about skill development than literally every other NCAA Division I coach does. Are we forgetting that former NBA legend Penny Hardaway is a Division I head coach? What about Don Staley with South Carolina? Bill Self, Kelvin Sampson, Tom Izzo, Gino Auriemma, just to name a few. More specifically, Mark Few for Gonzaga, who just coached in the Olympics with freaking LeBron and KD and Steph Curry. You, Peter Danyliv, who averaged, as far as I can tell, 0.5 points per game in college and can barely perform any of the moves you teach. You lie to your audience about insoles that are going to make you jump higher and prevent knee pain, and you shoot with a hyperextended elbow. Are not a better skills coach than literal basketball Hall of Famers.
Are we in the upside down? What is happening?
And Good Drills. Don't settle. Become great drills. Stop saying stuff like trash players do this and good players do this. To get better at shooting, you need to do this. The 5 layups that you need in your bag. The line between coaching and entertainment might seem obvious to some, but the majority of your audience is just young, trash players, as you would call them, basically beginners that really, they just need the fundamentals and the basics. I really just need to watch some more wholesome content, someone with morals.
If you want to be able to score 30 points per game, your buckets must be biblical.
Oh, he seems authentic.
Proverbs 14:29 says, whoever is patient has great understanding. The reason why they have that in their offense is because of Kenny Atkinson, who coached under Steve Kerr, who is coaching against. If you look at Proverbs 1:5, it says, let the wise hear and increase in learning. Get in on the action right now for my partners at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Look, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a gambling sponsorship or any sponsorship, for example. You got to make a living. But when your whole shtick is implementing Bible verses into the game of basketball, it comes off as incredibly disingenuous. That and the fact that you're charging players $50 a month to join. This is my biggest issue with content creators and the influencer space in general. The problem is the price rarely matches the value that you're promising. For example, if someone is charging you $50 for a one-on-one session, I think that's a fair price since really you're just charging them for their time, and this is completely different, however, than someone charging you $100 for a practice plan or a template, a workout program that they've already made, the work has already been done, and they're basically just paywalling you from that information. All this information is just available online already for free. There are no basketball secrets, and if there were, it wouldn't be these guys that have it, I could promise you that. Which brings us back to Mr. Pat.
Bars.
Pat Dorr, or Patrick Kanyamuhanda, I hope I'm saying that right. He's another YouTuber that I largely don't have a problem with, but again, certain red flags make me slightly uncomfortable. His content, or basketball breakdowns, is just him watching NBA players and then overcomplicating what's happening on the screen to make it seem more in depth. Simple life hack. Great teachers, great coaches, great communicators, they can make extremely complicated topics and subjects seem very simple. So if someone is trying to explain something and they're using a ton of terminology and making it seem really complicated and hard to keep up, they may not be an expert.
Watch Steph, right? As he runs left, he turned back. And now he's gonna keep going middle, and he realizes I got Braun running on this right side. So instead of going to the left side, I'm gonna go back to this right, because now Franz has to make a decision. Do I stop Braun, who's running to the rim, or do I stop Stephen Curry, who's sitting at the three-point? And you know he's gonna take away the two, so now Steph gets an open three because
Curry saw someone on the left, so he ran to the right. That's all they have. Along with this, Pat likes to include Bible scriptures in his basketball teaching, which again, I don't really have an issue with, and I think it's a unique idea. But as I mentioned before, sticking a gambling ad right after quoting Ezekiel 4:12, it's just kind of distasteful. Is that actually Ezekiel 4:12? Anyways, you get the picture. Add to that the fact that Pat,
Double bars.
the fact that he's also giving weight training advice, and my sesometer finally goes off. First of all, if you need surgery done, you go to a surgeon. If you need your car engine worked on, you go to a mechanic. If you want strength and conditioning advice, you go to a strength and conditioning coach. Anyways, diving in further, you can see that you can become a member for $50 a month. I'm only charging $3. This plan includes nutritional advice, go see a nutritionist, shooting advice, go see a shooting coach, strength and conditioning, we've already spoken about that. To be fair, he does say they're individualized plans and you can get one-on-one coaching calls. If that's the case, it's still more than most of these other influencers, but still, I think it's a ton of money for young players to be spending. Just have a YouTuber giving them life, weightlifting, and mindset advice. A gym membership costs less than this, Pat. Trying to mix entertainment and coaching together, it's kind of hard to do, and you're really gonna confuse a lot of the young players out there. Try to remember that your audience is young kids, and $50 is a lot of money for that demographic. Again, unless it's all about the money, go off, King. Sorry to put all the focus on Pat there, but I wanted to illustrate how these things can snowball and lead to being an influencer with the aesthetic of a coach. Since I don't want this to be a 2-hour-long video diving into every coaching expert and guru out there, we're gonna speed run a few of these next ones. JQ, basketball training. Okay, professional basketball trainer. I'm assuming he's making money by training basketball skills to kids, and he's not actually on a professional team staff. This John Hansberry seems he played at Bethel College in the KCAC, NAIA represent, but looks like he just played a couple games, only scored 2 points. No shade, obviously. According to this though, he averaged 15 points in high school, which is, that's pretty good. However, nothing I'm seeing, including any of these YouTube videos or TikTok shorts, is screaming out professional or elite. I can't knock the grind on the social media though. Looks like you need to sign up with your email to get us a free training program, which most likely will lead to a mailing list to be upsold to later, and we're not gonna do that. But watching this content will probably make you a better player. It's just gonna take more steps than if you don't watch this content. Keith Poitier Performance, when mama's like,
honey, we have by any means basketball at home.
Looks like he played at LaSalle College, which is a Division III school, averaged 5 points per game, and actually shot 80% from the free throw line, which is better than I shot from the free throw line in college. Yikes. He's also done an incredible job building a social media, but unfortunately from what I've seen, I wouldn't recommend taking him as a basketball authority. He is a basketball scientist apparently though, so if you need to know how to find the circumference of a basketball, I know a guy. B. Smith 215. Okay, he's 9, he doesn't need this move. Okay, travel. Yeah, travel. Look, I know not everyone is perfect in their drills, but you're posting them as a teaching point. It should be as accurate as possible. This is just a good example of too much sauce and not enough meat and potatoes. T2S Basketball Academy. It's not it. It's not good. Bruh.
Nobody wants to have an elbow in their neck, trust me. But if you play small, guess what they're gonna do? But if you play big, nobody wants an elbow in their neck. So play big, okay? What did I say? What did I say?
You can't do that. I even commented this on his post. Yeah, any contact around the head or above the neck will almost always be called an unsportsmanlike foul nowadays. Yeah, the game's changed, mate. This is basketball. It's not fight night. What are we doing? Evan Sarakis, this guy, basically the same as T2 Skills Basketball Academy, whatever. Very undersized and inexperienced coaches teaching players how to post up and be physical will never make sense to me. Also, just horrible footwork and fundamentals and just other basics that are so far outdated and will definitely hold players back or force them to unlearn these bad habits later in their careers. Now, Coach P, AKA the last video that I saw that forced me to make this video that you're watching in the first place.
I spent a year testing the weirdest ways to grow taller.
You're telling me that you spent a year testing the weirdest ways to grow taller? What do you mean you were testing things for a year? That's not nearly enough time to study how things grow. Unless you were testing on like plants or those little those little firecracker snake things. I don't know.
Look, I understand the pain you're feeling right now. You watch all these videos, trying to figure out a way to keep growing.
Brother, it's called genetics. This is just absurd to me. And the fact that you've made not 1, not 2,
not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7,
but 8 videos on how to grow taller instantly makes me never want to take you seriously as a basketball coach ever again. Especially paired with the fact that you're charging $400 per month for 4 coaching sessions. Not only that, but it's a 3-month commitment. You're telling me that young hoopers, they've got to pay you $1,200 up front, $100 per hour, to hopefully grow taller, increase their vertical, and become disciplined. Ia Hayatella and Kyle Travis I can kind of lump together since these are the 2 guys that sent me botted messages when I tried to find more information out about their programs. I think using bots on Instagram is a very efficient way to get comments and an automated response that's going to help you generate more money. But I think it's a terribly scammy way to do business with kids. That's obviously your target audience, so why are we employing Wolf of Wall Street business tactics here? It's not like you're too busy playing professional basketball or coaching professional teams. Just freaking reply to your audience and comment back to them like human beings. Again, unless it's all about the money, go off, king. Ian has this weird habit of trying to sell this little toe tap thing and then arguing with people in the comments like this isn't just an egregious travel or carry. However, he did go to Santa Ana College where he averaged 10 points per game, which in comparison to everyone else that we've spoken about so far, it's actually pretty damn impressive. Plus, his program does look fairly priced for what he's promised on the website. Kyle, on the other hand, likes to charge $300 per hour, but I guess it's worth it since he's a basketball training specialist. Who helps players master elite skills. He's also a global coaching expert. What's that? Oh, sorry. It's just a bunch of buzzwords. From what I can find of his basketball career, he apparently got injured, then decided to pass up D1 offers to go play professionally for the Philippines and decided to become a global coach. So where do I sign up? MDW Basketball, who we all know and have to put up with. He's most popular for his interesting spin, breaking down traveling violations. What started off as a unique twist to this type of content quickly turned into him deciding he's now the authority on what is or isn't a travel. And don't even think about disagreeing with him in the comments, because he will take it very personal. His main obsession at the moment is being unable to identify when a player has gathered the ball. Similar to Ian Hayatela's toe taps, you can't infinitely run with the ball in your hand without being called for a travel. Mainly because physics exist, but also the rule clearly states it. For a player who is in control of the ball while dribbling, the gather is defined as the point where a player does any one of the following: puts two hands on the ball or otherwise permits the ball to come to rest while he is in control of it, puts a hand under the ball and brings it to a pause, or otherwise gains enough control of the ball to hold it, change hands, pass, shoot, or cradle it against the body. This means that all that's required for a gather is not the actual action of stopping your dribble, but just being in control of it enough to stop your dribble if you wanted to. This shouldn't be too hard of a concept to grasp, but there are times where it's like splitting hairs in real time, which would be all cool if you weren't making claims as an objective ruling in all of these situations. But then other times he says that he's just showing what an official can actually see in real time. You can't make this up. He doesn't even know what he believes, which is unfortunate, because I truly believe that he started with this content to actually help teach this to players. Now he's gone full Hezi God and claiming that NBA players and people around the world are stealing moves that he created. You're not God's gift to basketball. Here's a video of me like 8 years ago shooting a one-legged three-pointer in some street ball tournament, long before I've ever seen any of your content. And here's another from a championship game in Australia like years ago, way before you ever changed the game. Be humble. None of us are bigger than the game of basketball. You didn't invent the Euro step or the one-legged shot, and majority of your videos are extremely contradictory. Okay, that was extremely exhausting. Look, do you need to be a professional player to give advice? No. Do you need to be a professional coach? Absolutely not. But your coaching should stand on its own. If you have to prop it up with tons of qualifiers and overcomplicated buzzwords, you're probably overcompensating or just delusional. At the end of the day, it's just lying to your audience with extra steps. This is one of those things for me that makes this basketball influencer industry just kind of ick. There are no checks and balances or penalties for people just continuously lying about their experience or their knowledge of the game. People gonna people. They'll continue lying to their audience or intentionally misleading them, and that just grows overly frustrating for me. One of the biggest examples of this is the famous or the infamous lethal shooter. This post was from October of last year. I remember seeing it at the time and thinking, wow, lethal shooter. He's getting his own exhibit at the NBA Hall of Fame. That is so dope. Then as the days went on and seeing more articles and conversations about it, his audience believed that he was actually being inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame. That's pretty much like saying,
I just performed surgery on my child last night and saved his life.
Meanwhile, you just pulled a splinter from their finger. I mean, technically, it could have gotten infected, and then if they had an allergic reaction to the medication, I guess there's a small chance they could have died.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So you're not really lying, you're just being intentionally vague and loose with the wording. So yeah, getting a shooting booth that he set up and he donated his own things to is not the same as being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Not that I wouldn't be celebrating if I had my own booth, but language is important. Influencers absolutely know what they're doing online to help continue building their brand. Nothing wrong with it from a business standpoint, but again, I just don't like the aesthetic of pushing the game forward when it's really all about what you can get out of it. This is just adding to your resume without actually doing the thing. Meanwhile, Michelle Timms, who I've an extreme amount of respect for, was actually inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame last year. From Australia, actually played some games in the WNBA as well. I was extremely fortunate to be able to work for her at some basketball camps and some other skills and team sessions. And that woman's taught me far more about basketball than most of these influencers could ever dream of knowing. Aussie, by the way. Anyways, people like this who have really put in the sweat equity and continue to carry the game on their backs, having their accomplishments be basically trivialized by social media influencers is nonsense and it needs to stop. Lethal Shooter, who I'm sure is a great person, what he's been able to do with basketball content-wise is nothing short of amazing. Shooting gummy bears into a water bottle. Brilliant. Shooting a ball into a hoop made of nails. Awesome. But claiming you're the best shooter in the entire world and you personally made NBA players better shooters, That's where we got to slow down, especially when I saw how quickly he folded when podcaster and former NBA player Jeff Teague challenged him to a shootout. The way he got so defensive when he was challenged was not on my 2025 bingo card, and this is exactly what I'm trying to say. A lethal shooter is an influencer who got famous by going viral and shooting trick shots and putting the work in to be known as the best shooter in the world. However, when it comes to having that actually challenged, he quickly deflects and just gets incredibly defensive. My guy, he didn't challenge you to a fight to the death. He challenged you to shoot uncontested jump shots. What are we talking about? This is what happens when your image and brand becomes more important than your need to push the game of basketball forward. That's when these conflicts of interest start to become more pronounced. Your audience falls in love with you because the image you've shown them and the story you've built and manufactured to the world. But if that's not truly who you are, then that facade quickly begins to fade. This audience capture is something that happens to people in every industry, even more nowadays with social media. And that's why people get into online coaching. They genuinely want to help players get better at basketball. But then you start posting videos and you have a couple go viral. Then you start chasing the views rather than continuing to do what your initial goal was. I don't even necessarily think this is wrong, especially when everyone needs to make a living and building a brand is not easy. However, when your target audience is kids, or when you start to trivialize the accomplishments of others, like the Hall of Fame, for example, or people that really are experts in their fields, I believe someone should step in and help get things back on track. I am someone. So that's what today's video was really about. I know I probably came off as a hater to some of you, especially if you're fans of those channels out there. I promise I'm being good faith. My only goal is to keep some accountability and help clean up the online coaching space. Coach Freaky, for example, left a comment a few videos back and we've kind of gone back and forth and it's actually been pretty good. I think coaches need to hold each other accountable and not be scared to have conversations and to help each other grow, especially if this is exactly what we're asking all the young kids out there to be doing. You should take everything we say with a grain of salt and judge each one of our videos on its own merit. Wow, what a video, huh? Let's see how many emails and hateful comments I get for this one. I know this video is going to ruffle a ton of feathers, but at the end of the day, most of these creators are grown men that I'm more than happy to have a conversation with. And I'd much rather go against the grain and speak up for all of these young hoopers out there that don't know where to go for their information. Since I'm probably going to get canceled for this one, I'd like to give one last shout out to our Patreon members who contribute and help me make content and yeah, keep the lights on in this place. We post a ton of free things over on the Patreon, so make sure you go check that out and the website to get as much free stuff as possible. Oh, right. Yeah, can't forget about our YouTube members also. You guys are also so important. Just not as important as King Butch, of course. Well, I'm gonna go delete my channel now before I get swarmed by all these online influencers, so yeah. See you in the next one.